so cool. Oh man, Mario is gonna be so pissed. Sorry, I was just observing my, should I say admiring my Planet Eclipse Power Balance wristband, which, as you guys know, once they took them off the market, became instant collector's items. And I've got one, and unfortunately for Stick the Drum, he does not. So he's just gonna have to look at mine and envy it. Anyway, Geo 2 show. Let's get started. So Planet Eclipse back about a year and a half ago came out with the first Geo, and I got my hands on the first Geo and I actually wasn't that impressed with it. I was getting ready to release the review on it, but Planet Eclipse said they were going to come out with some updates and they were going to come out with some revisions, and kind of the one that I got was one of the first ones off of the assembly line. It's the it was the brown and blue one, and I got one of the first ones that they came out with, which was kind of still in the prototype phase. And they kept saying they were going to release new parts for it and release new parts for it, so I didn't want to do a review and do an opinion on it when the new parts were going to come out, and my review would have been completely null and void. Took them a little longer to get the parts and the updated parts for it, and then, you know, kind of the videos, we got sidetracked with all the other stuff that was coming up, you know, all the new guns that were coming out and stuff like that. And it was just a show that we never went back and revisited. But here we are now with the Geo 2. So amazing how much time flies over the past year, year and a half. And let's go ahead and take it out of the box. Now we've been, you know, I've been giving this gun a really good going over. And you guys saw me do the unboxing video back a few weeks ago. But as always, you know, Planet Eclipse, and I've said this in many of the videos, even going all the way down to the E-Tech, you know, historically has had some of the absolute best packaging in paintball, period. It's what, you know, what really justifies spending the amount of money that you spend on these markers is indeed the packaging. They never fail with their packaging. They come with really nice gun case here, which, you know, there's no reason to leave this at the house. You know, if you've got a really dirty gear bag, you know, don't leave the gun case at the house and just throw your gun in the dirty gear bag where it gets all clawed up. Actually bring this to the field. Leave everything in it, okay? You can bring this to the field. It's not a cardboard box that's going to get wet. You can leave the cardboard box at home, but actually bring the case to the field. I mean, it's got your tools, it's got your Allen keys, you know, it's got lube here. You know, it's also got your manual. And also, you know, if you're, you know, you're not, obviously this isn't an SL, so you only have one barrel back and one barrel tip. But if you've got other barrels that you want to use, you can put them in here as well. So, you know, I see players do that a lot where they take the, you know, where they end up just, you know, they get a really expensive gun and they don't really take advantage of the case, you know, take advantage of the case. No one cares if this gets scratched up. They care if you scratch this up. But anyway, back on topic, you know, the gun here comes with, you know, tons of different O-rings, tons of different parts. You know, it comes with the Allen key set. Something that I always like to do with my markers, and it's going to sound really, really corny. You guys have seen this in the past, but it's Planet Eclipse. They always have an inspected by label on the macro line, and I always like to cut or take this piece of macro line off and cut a fresh piece of macro line and put it on there. And what's really funny, if you take your pictures of your guns with this like this, it drives all the mods on PB Nation fucking crazy. That gun's brand new in the box. No, it doesn't. It's got a scratch on it. It's going in the brand new in the box pin. You've got to pay us. No, I don't. But anyway, let's go ahead and close this up. And, you know, the Geo 2 manual, great manual. You know, full color manual, shows you how to do everything with it, shows you how to, you know, adjust your settings, what everything does. And definitely, if you're going to spend the money on a gun, you know, that's this expensive, we're talking $1,200+, definitely read the manual. So, you know, it's got some things in here that you may not know. You know, do you want to use your optical switch or do you want to use your micro switch? You know, what if you're going to use the optical switch, how do you set it up? So, definitely want to read your manual when you're spinning a gun of this caliber. That's just Mike's lecture for the day. Let's go ahead and put this back down here. And also you get a nice little Planet Eclipse barrel sock. Now, something that, before I screw this barrel on here, something that may catch, some people off guard here is the length of the barrel. At first glance, you are going to notice that the stock barrel, and I believe they're now calling this the Shaft 4 kit, which isn't compatible with any of the other ones. It's a male-to-male kit. So what it does is the back, it's a male piece that screws into the tip. I'm going to go ahead and measure these here so you can see that there is indeed that the Shaft 4 barrel is slightly longer. Let me see if I can do this here. Let me set this here on the table here. There we go, that might work. Let's see how this comes out. Hopefully we can see here that the new Shaft 4 barrel comes in at, I believe it's about 14.5 inches. So let me go ahead and put this over here. And that might help a little bit. 14.5 inches is how long the new barrel is. This way, some people may think it's a 15-inch barrel or this, that, and the other, but I've measured it a couple times and it is indeed exactly 14.5 inches. It's not that big of a deal. Some players may not like the added length, especially snake players, where the tip of the, especially if it's a really tight snake like going into 2010 World Cup, where if they're going to be shooting cross field, they're afraid their barrel might be exposed. That extra ½ an inch could possibly sway somebody to go and get a standard 14-inch barrel or maybe something a little bit shorter. I haven't had any problems with that. I have been using it in the snake. I haven't had my tip shot on the barrel, but I definitely wanted to address it, that it is a slightly longer barrel. Some people may like it a little bit better. Now, longer barrels aren't necessarily more accurate, but they are a little easier to point, okay? So, if you're using a 6-inch barrel, you will notice that that barrel is a little harder to point than it is a barrel with a slightly longer length. So a slightly longer length barrel sometimes is a little bit easier to point. Another thing that you do notice with the gun is it still has the DefTech offset feed neck. I know a lot of people, especially a lot of people that say they have OCD, that the offset feed neck does tend to kind of throw them off a little bit. I do notice that the feed neck that is on the Geo 2 isn't as offset as the Planet Eclipse Egos or the E-Techs are. Those tend to be really offset. This one is just a little bit offset. It's probably halfway between the Ego and a standard feed neck. So when I'm looking down the barrel of this gun, I don't notice it to be as offset as the standard Ego, but it is a little bit offset. But I know a lot of people with the Egos, they tend to say that offset feed neck kind of screws with my head a little bit, but this one is kind of more in the middle between a standard and a, so maybe if that's something that may have been swaying you from getting a Planet Eclipse marker in the past, hopefully it doesn't sway you in this case. One thing that I do really like about the gun is that is basically, and we'll show this here when we get the camera a little bit closer, is it's almost 100% toolless disassembly, which is really nice. The back of the bolt here has, you can grip it almost like the Octane shockers. If you remember the Octane shockers, how they used to have this little, almost like a flathead screwdriver type design where you can just, unscrew it with your fingers. This is basically the same thing. But while we're on that topic, let's go ahead and bring it a little bit closer here. Probably do the quickest disassembly gun in the history, disassembly of this gun in the history of TechPB. We'll go out and do an efficiency test and we'll come back with a conclusion. Okay, now I've got the gun here, let's go ahead and turn it on. And, as you can see, this is basically the same LCD screen that's on the SL. You can change the background colors. Still the, basic Planet Eclipse programming. You get semi and you get ramping. You get either burst or linear ramping, whichever one you want, but don't expect any sort of crazy breakout modes or full auto or anything like that with the Planet Eclipse guns. You basically get semi and ramping. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Okay. Okay. Planet Eclipse Geo 2 weighs in at 1 pound, 14 ounces. 1 pound, 14 ounces. Pretty light gun. Let's go ahead and set the scale aside. Now I'm going to show you something really quick before we take the gun apart. There is a small spring that is on the back of the bolt here. and it's a spring, you know, the core, which is inside here, which we'll get to here in a second, it does have a spring in it. Now the spring doesn't hit anything. I didn't feel the spring working at all when I was out there on the field. Doesn't bang up against anything. It basically just shuttles the valve, the bolt core or the valve core back and forth. But I didn't even, you know, when you're out there shooting with this gun, you don't even notice that it has a spring in there, but it is in there, and you will notice that the bolt is slightly forward on the, you know, inside of the breech when the gun is at its normal rest. Now I will tell you as a bit of a warning that this is not the gun that you want to be constantly gassing up and degassing while you're out there on the field. I don't know why players do this. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to show you when you air the gun up, you're going to watch the bolt get sucked back. Okay, there it goes. Now here's why you don't want to degas this gun while you're out there, you know, while you're out there on the field or you're in between games or something like that. If there's a ball in the breech, what's going to happen is when you degas it, you're going to see the bolt slide forward. Okay, bolt's going to slide forward. What that's going to do is it's going to load a ball into your barrel, and then when you air back up again, you're going to suck the bolt back, so you're going to double feed. Here we go. There it goes. Now the bolt disappears again. So, you know, I don't know why a lot of people really like to degas their guns in between matches or in between games. That is not a good thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. You know, leave your guns aired up all day long. That's like taking the gas out of your car when you park it at night. You don't have to do that, okay? Just leave your gun gassed up. But, you know, I do want to show you that. You'll see the bolt go forward when it degasses. It's just kind of where it naturally rests. But you definitely don't want to be degassing this gun when you're out there on the field. Let's go ahead and remove the bolt. Now I do love that now Planet Eclipse has finally gotten to the point now where the guns completely degas when you unscrew the ASA. Something I didn't really like that about Planet Eclipse guns. I mean, I guess it's just basically the floating base regulator. There's not really any way to get around it, but they now have it to where you know, when you degas the gun completely degas. So let's go ahead and take it apart. Now you don't have to tighten this, you know, it's not like you need a wrench to tighten this back cap here or anything like that. I mean, finger tight is all this thing needs. Take that out. Let's put this here and put that little cap there so it doesn't go anywhere. I reach in there with my finger, pull out the bolt. Okay, that's basically it. So that's your bolt. Let's go ahead and remove the front O-ring here. I kind of like doing these videos sometimes too because I haven't cleaned this gun since I used it this weekend. Now, let's go ahead and take apart the regulator. There we go. There's your base and piston. There's not really any sort of user serviceable parts inside here, but if you wanted to, basically you take your Allen key, you screw this all the way up, and you can kind of take apart the cage, and you can also flip over the base of the, there's a seal down there at the bottom. You can flip that over if it wears out, but for the most part, there's not really any sort of user serviceable parts that's down in there. Put the spring. Something else that I really like that they did too, and I wish they did this on the Egos, is this air transfer hole here that's at the front. They basically pretty close to made it flush with the body. Doesn't stick out like it does on the Ego, so it doesn't catch on your hands or anything like that. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, they're right up here in the front. They have this air transfer hole that goes down the body of the gun. And you know, they made this screw really nice and flush instead of like the ones that are on the Eagle that seems to stick out about an inch. Hopefully they start putting that type of screw on the Egos. That is something that kind of bothers me when I'm shooting it. I don't like anything rubbing up against my hands and stuff like that. And then let's put this back together. As you can see, I mean, it's pretty much toolless disassembly. There we go. And we just took apart the Geo 2. That's all it takes. So let's go ahead and do an efficiency test and we'll come back for the conclusion. Hey, what's up guys, it's Mike and I'm here with Chai, longtime friend, captain coach of Infusion, and we're about to do the efficiency test on the Planet Eclipse Geo 2. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to, hold on to that for a second. I'm gonna go get the camera. I'm gonna show you guys the gauge, which is sitting right at about, let's see, let that focus in on there. So it's sitting right at about 4,200 PSI. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a tank temperature reading. We're sitting right at about 100 and, what is that, about 104? I'm getting some glare, yeah, getting some glare off.
104.2.
Okay, there we go, getting a little glare off the thing. Okay, cool. So now what we'll do is we're going to load up our first pod. Okay, we're going to turn on the chronograph. Let's see where we're shooting. Okay, let's go ahead and increase this a little bit. Go ahead. Shoot again. Oh, turn on the loader. There we go. I'm going to back it down just a little bit. There we go. Looking good there. Shooting on. There we go. That's sitting right at about 300. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and set the camera back up on the tripod. And we'll keep shooting till we run out of air. So out of the Planet Eclipse Geo 2, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and about a half probably. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a conclusion. And I've got my Geo 2 here on the new Splat Rack. So if you guys haven't seen these, go check these out. Splat Rack, splatrak.com. They were on TechVB Radio the other day, and they gave a couple of these away, and they had a nice little discount for the viewers. I got one. So let's go ahead and sum this up, man. I really like the Geo 2. What does it shoot like when it's out there on the field? It shoots a lot like a droid. I haven't owned a clone yet. We don't get much love from MacDev, but you know, the Droid is one of my favorite spool valve guns. It's so quiet and so gentle on paint, and the Geo 2 shoots exactly like a Droid when it's out there on the field. It is unbelievably quiet. It's extremely accurate. The bolt moves relatively slow compared to other guns that are on the market. Not a lot of force behind the bolt at all. I mean, I'll shoot, you know, just this gun's shooting 300 feet per second, but okay, as you saw, I just shot the swab out of the gun. So this gun is shooting 300 feet per second, but you put your finger down into the breech here and you pull the trigger, and you know, if you've ever shot like a Vibe, you know, or you know, like a Vibe, or I'm trying to think of some other bolts that move really, really slow, but you know, Droid or a Vibe, those bolts that, you know, those spool valve bolts that tend to move very, very slow, that's what they shoot like. Hardly, I don't think I've broken one ball with this gun. Actually, Damien broke it, it wasn't me, but out there on the field, man, these guns shoot absolutely amazing. They are very, very quiet. I absolutely see the Geo 2 going completely after the current DM owners, and maybe making some of the die-hard die owners definitely think twice unless die really steps it up with the DM. It's got a better trigger than the DM. It shoots like a DM with a perfectly tuned LPR and perfectly lubed. Well, you don't have to deal with any of that. You set the velocity on one regulator and you go from there. You know, there's nothing sticking out from the front here. I mean, it is definitely a gunfighter's dream come true. I mean, the only thing I think I would really like with the Geo 2 is once they start coming with the new ASA that is on the Planet Eclipse Ego 10, these guns are going to just really, really take off, in my opinion. I mean, I don't do side macro line. It drives me up the wall. It's one of the things I really liked about my NT was it had the macro line that went out the front. But out there on the field, this gun is shot absolutely amazing. I only had one problem with it when it was out there, was that the screw, there's precision bearings that hold the trigger in place, and there's a pin that goes across the trigger, and there's a little screw that holds it in place. That came loose one time after playing. I think it happened after I took a core sample after diving into the snake, and I was out there shooting. I'm like, the trigger doesn't feel right. It's a little gritty. I don't know what's going on with it. When I took it home and took it apart, I realized what happened was the pivot, the pin had moved a little bit. And once I put it back into place and locked it down, that was the only problem I've had with this gun. I've probably put about 10 or 15 cases through it. I'm going to be using this gun at World Cup. It shoots great. There's nothing really bad that I can say about this gun. It's light. It does not shoot like a gun that weighs 1 pound 14 ounces. Bolt moves very, very slow. I mean, stick your finger into the breech, pull the trigger. I mean, the bolt just bounces off of your finger. It shoots great. Something else that I really like about it too is it uses the, you know, Spider Intimidator style finger detents. Now the thing I really like about those detents is, especially now that the paint has gotten a lot smaller, you're not going to get the paint that's going to slip by the detents like you do with some of the Delrin detents. Some of the Delrin detents are made very, very shallow, and so I have seen some of the balls actually go and double feed with the Delrin detents if they're very shallow Delrin detents. The finger detents stick plenty far into the breech. No problems with the smaller bore paint. Most of the RPS premium I'm shooting right now is about a 682, and no problems with this gun at all, but it's extremely quiet. Shoots great, and let me tell you what, like I said, it's going to go right after the people that are currently buying the DM guns, just because you get so much more. You get a better trigger, you get a big LCD screen with it, you completely take it apart with no tools whatsoever. Very easy to take apart, put it back together again. There's not a lot of bad things to say about the Geo 2. All I gotta say is, you know, if you have any second doubts about it, I know they're kind of hard to get right now. You know, find somebody at the field that has one and shoot theirs and make your own opinion. But I really, really like this gun. It shoots great. I definitely think it's worth the price. I'm gonna be using this gun at World Cup. It's just absolutely treated me right since I've had it. So hopefully that helps you with the Geo 2. Like I said, I can't wait for these guns to start coming out with the you know, the inline ASA, the ASA that comes out the front instead of off to the sides, like what you see right now in the Ego 11s. Once they start coming up with that, I mean, these guns are going to be serious, if they're not already serious spool valve contenders. Does not shoot anything like the original Geo. I mean, if you shot an original Geo and you made a lot of, you know, you definitely had your right to feel how you felt when I shot it. I wasn't very impressed with the initial Geo. This gun doesn't shoot anything like the original Geo whatsoever. The original Geo kind of shot like an expensive G3. You know, it was real loud, had a real loud crack when it shot. This gun doesn't shoot like that at all. But it's a great marker. So hopefully that helps you with the Geo 2. You guys out, you know, coming to 2010 PSP World Cup. I'll be playing, I believe, late Saturday afternoon. Come out and check it out, and you'll definitely see me using this out there.